Hello again, it's John, and I am ready for another opening of some more baseball card packs. Um, just more of the same. If you've been watching these, I think this is probably about the fourth one that I've done now. I've gotten some mostly positive feedback, so thank you for those who've been watching and commenting. Again, I'm posting these both on Facebook and on YouTube, so if you'd like to go back and see one, you can find them online. Um, just to give you an update, I'm going to be opening. This is the last one of these that I bought. So this is one of the Walgreens jumbo box 100 cards with a pack on the inside. Now I also got this. I got this from Target. I'm gonna save this for next time. This is a $10 pack of the Topps Heritage 2020 set, and what I like about this is that this is a set that is in the style of the old 1971 Topps. So I'm going to get into these next time. So watch for those. But right now I want to finish off what I'd already been doing, and that's these 100 card packs. Now, before I begin, I do want to address something. Somebody had commented online, basically criticism saying, hey, aren't you a little old to be doing baseball cards? And I'm 40, okay. Um, I'm going to say no to that for two reasons. I have been collecting my baseball cards my whole life. I took most of the 2000s off from that. I think I got away with it. I've explained this before. I got away from baseball cards really around 95, 94, 95, as I was getting into my later teenage years. Had, obviously other things, more important things going on, but I also didn't like the direction that the card industry was taking. Fleer had pretty much gone away, Donruss had gone away, Score had gone away, to the point where you had just two competing companies, Topps and Upper Deck, and they were both trying to outdo each other with color photographs, and I didn't like really what they're. I am a very, very much a keep it simple type of person, so I would rather see the plain old cardboard cards with stats on the back, not these subsets of subsets and series 1, series 2 things that they've got going on. Um, so I'm going to say no. I'm not too old to be collecting cards because I've been doing it my whole life. But also because with the COVID-19 quarantine going on right now, um, baseball cards are having a resurgence. And it's largely because of people like me, people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe older, who are kind of stuck at home doing nothing. I'm still working 5 days a week. I'm very fortunate to still be drawing a full salary from my work, from my job. So financially, COVID-19 hasn't been a problem for me so far. I'm very lucky. I appreciate that. I know there are a lot of people out there that are struggling. But at the same time, I'm kind of stuck in these four walls, kind of staring, looking around me like, okay, what can I do to keep busy? And I've had some other side projects that I've been working on. But one of those side projects has been baseball cards. And so I've been kind of looking at my sets. Long before COVID-19, I decided I wanted to get binders of basically every San Diego Padres card that was ever made. So I've got a pretty good collection of, I want to say I've got every San Diego Padres card from probably 1969, the first set, up until about 93, 94. And then I'll skip a few years, and then I've got some of the more recent years, like from 2012 on. I think I've probably got full sets with plenty in between. I mean, it's not like I took entire decades off, and I have been able to go back and fill in some of the gaps. But for the most part, I've got just about maybe 80-90% of every Padres card ever made. And so I was looking at the sets that I have, and I decided, wouldn't it be cool if I had maybe some of the complete sets? I would like to do maybe every Topps set from 1980 to about 1990, which is basically my childhood. That's when I grew up really enjoying cards. So I've gotten some of the harder sets out of the way, some of the traded sets. If you remember Topps traded sets, they came in boxes that looked like this. This is the 89 box. They looked just like the regular series, except they were much brighter on the backside. If you flip them over, usually they would end with a number and the word or letter T for traded. And then you could tell it was a traded card just by looking at it because it was so much brighter on the other side. Or maybe instead of green on one side, it would be red on one side. So there was a big difference. These traded sets can be very expensive depending on what's in them. I happen to know that the 1990 Topps traded set has nothing special in it whatsoever, so you can usually pick up one of these, a 1990, for about $1 online. Maybe two, maybe $3, but it's not a valuable set. Compare that to the 82 set, which has a Cal Ripken in it, Cal Ripken rookie card. That's going to be probably over 100 just for the traded set. So, by the way, the 82 set looks like this with the two stripes down the side, and I think it's a very attractive set. One of my favorite sets of all time. So, the 82s, the 86s, I think are very attractive. So, going back to what I was saying before, so as far as me being too old, with the COVID-19 vaccine, quarantine going on, a lot of people my age are looking at the sets that they have, trying to complete some older sets, trying to, enhance what they already have been collecting throughout the years, to the point where the baseball card industry is having a resurgence, and it's noticeable just this year. So I'm going to open this up for you. Here's another opening day pack. I mean, last time I opened a couple of these, and it was a good set. I'm going to set this aside for next time, as I've been doing. The last thing I want to say on, me being too old for this, I will mention that I live about 20 miles east of San Diego, and there's a very good card shop. You almost never find baseball card shops open anywhere anymore. I think there's maybe 2 left in San Diego County after there, 20 years ago there would have been dozens and dozens and dozens of them. I think there's 2 left operational in San Diego County. One of them is in Santee. It's called All Star Cards, and the guy who owns it, his name is Jerry. Very good guy. He runs the shop with his daughter. It's on Cuyamaca Street. And I found an interview online with Jerry in which he said, 50% of his customers are well over the age of 18. I would estimate that probably 30-40% of baseball card collectors today are into their 30s or their 40s or their 50s or older. So it's not just for kids. It's not a kid's hobby. It's something you can do with your kids. If you have children, get them into it. It's fun, but it's not necessarily something where you have to be a kid to enjoy this, because quite frankly, a lot of what baseball cards are about these days are nostalgia. This very set here, the Topps Heritage that I bought at Target, the whole point of this is nostalgia because it's modern players in the 1971 series, 1971 look. So baseball card companies, they know their audience. They're trying to recapture some of these kids that used to buy cards in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, trying to recapture what they had back in the day. I'm in a Facebook group with a lot of other baseball card collectors, and it's called Vintage Baseball Cards or something like that. And I mean, even today, we've got people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s finding great stuff at Goodwill stores, finding great stuff at garage sales, and posting it online. They're buying stuff online on eBay. Just classic cards that they had as children. And life goes on. You lose the set that you had as a kid, you want to get it back. So it's not at all unusual to buy some of the same cards that really meant something to you as a child. Now, looking at this set that I bought here today, not today, I didn't buy this today, but I bought it at Walgreens the other day. I can see that these are kind of coming in clumps already. Here's a couple of 1990 score cards. Kenny Maldonado, Terry Steinbach from the Bay Area. But after those 2, here's a Todd Zeile Bowman. The one thing I didn't like about Bowman is that their original cards were too big. This one is the same size, same format, but I think it was the 89 Bowman or the 88 Bowman. It was literally too big to fit in the sleeve, so I didn't like that set just for that reason. And then, we've got a bunch of these all clumped together. Here is a bunch of 1990 Topps. Oh, and here's one. Okay, I had mentioned in the past that these were surprisingly in very good condition. for what is basically a junk set out of a Walgreens. Here's the first one that really is damaged. This is a Barry Jones. Not going to be worth anything anyway. It's nobody's heard of Barry Jones from the White Sox, but this is the first one that's really got a noticeable crease in it. This one, yeah, if I hold it up, maybe you might be able to see it at the bottom where it says his name. It is definitely creased. You can kind of see in there. So this is the first one that I would really consider to be actually in fair to bad condition. Jeff Parrott of the Phillies, Storm Davis for the Athletics. He used to pitch for the Padres as well. Now we have a bunch of 89s together. We have, I'm going to skip over some of these because I haven't had any really noteworthy players yet. A couple of 87 Donruss stuck together. We have, okay, here's noteworthy. Okay. Juan Samuel for the Phillies, decent infielder back in the 80s. Frank Tanana really made his name with the California Angels, but this was him, I guess, at the end of the year, at the end of his career with Detroit. But I know he had some good years in Detroit as well. And then Dave Winfield. I've got some stories about Dave Winfield. Of course, he played for the Padres all through the 70s, left after the 1980 season. One of the Padres' first true stars, and he was the first player to go into Cooperstown as a Padre. I have a story about that in which I was actually in Cooperstown the same weekend that he got inducted. I was not there for the ceremony, but I do have a funny story that connects to that, so I'll get into that some other time. I had mentioned the traded set from the Topps traded set. Fleer used to do the same thing. So here are a couple of Fleer updates from 1989. And you can tell they're updates because they both start with the letter U up at the top where it says Fleer. I don't know how well you can read that. Felix Fermin from the Indians. This is as he just came up and went to the Indians from the Pirates for the first time. Pitcher Rob Murphy, known mainly for the Reds. This is him with the Red Sox. And so what the card companies would do is they would print their main set of cards, and then about halfway through the year, about June or July, they would come out with these. Fleer would call them update sets. Topps would call them traded. I forget what Donruss called theirs, but they were doing something similar too. But those are the ones that were harder to get a hold of. So if you could get a hold of a set of those were pretty special back in the day. Got a bunch of Score 91s all together. Mike Scioscia. Mike Schooler. I'm sorry. I didn't read that. I was thinking Mike Scioscia wasn't a pitcher. Mike Schooler from the Mariners. Okay. Ed Whitson from the Padres. I like the side-by-side. I like the action on this one, how most of them are, vertically oriented. This one, this Ed Whitson, that's an attractive card. That with him, it's a landscape format. And I always liked Ed Whitson. He was one of my favorite pitchers in the 80s. Great shot of him in his number 31. That's a great uniform. This 1989-90s Padres team was very underrated, I think. I'm going to set this one aside. That's a good one. Andres Galarraga, the big cat, playing for the Expos. Later on, found a lot of success with the Rockies as well. But even with the Expos, we knew he was very good. He was one of the top first basemen in the league. Later ended up in Atlanta with the Braves. And I believe he spent some time with the Giants as well. One of the more underrated players of the 80s and 90s. He was a scary, scary hitter. Should have had a few more Hall of Fame votes. I'm not saying he is a Hall of Famer, but he should have had more support. And then Tino Martinez, early card for the Mariners. This might be his rookie. Yes, it is. Yep. Tino is a prime candidate for 1991 AL Rookie of the Year honors. Well, he didn't win that, but he did make a lot of noise in Seattle and then over in New York with the Yankees. We all know what happened with him in 98 with the Yankees. So, maybe this is why I mentioned Mike Scioscia earlier. Here's Mike Scioscia. There you go. Maybe I caught that subconsciously. I'm going to skip some of these. Mike Marshall for the Dodgers. By the way, if you're a Dodger fan, if you're a fan of any of these teams, let me know and I'll try to bundle some of these together. I don't mind sending cards through the mail. I don't intend to make a lot of money this way, but if you see something like, here's Carlos Garcia with the Pirates. I don't even know. This is a 1992 classic. Okay. I don't know if this is an actual baseball card or part of a game, like a board game maybe. It was not a popular set. Here's Max Venable from the Reds. Max Venable, of course, had a good, decent, long major league career, mostly with the Reds, Giants, but Padres fans more recently would know him for his son, Will. Will Venable, I think currently is the Chicago Cubs first base coach or bench coach, one of those. He's on the Cubs coaching staff currently. Will Venable, as a outfielder for the San Diego Padres, one of those guys who stuck around for years and years and years and really didn't get a lot done. I mean, he should have had a better career than what he had. So, Will Venable, that's Max's kid. Disappointing as far as Padre fans are concerned. Here's a couple more Fleer update cards from that 89 set. Again, these are coming in clusters, which unlike some of the other card packs that I've opened, that hasn't been the case. Couple of guys with Padres connections. Mark Parent, one of my favorite Padres backup catchers of all time. He was a good ball player for us as a backup. He spent a lot of time riding the bench behind Benito Santiago. But when Mark Parent came up to hit, you felt like he could pinch hit for you and get the job done. So Mark Parent was a guy that you didn't mind having as a backup catcher. And then here is Terry Kennedy with the Giants. He, of course, was with the 84 Padres. Came up with St. Louis, came over in trade, I think before the 81 season, maybe 82. I think it was traded in 81 for the 82 season. But Terry Kennedy, part of that 84 Padres team, spent some time in Baltimore and ended up in the Giants. I think that was his last stop in the major leagues. But hard not to like Terry Kennedy. He was a good guy. Speaking of 84, Rick Sutcliffe with the Cubs. I mean, nobody had a bigger 84 than he did. He was traded from the Indians. Yeah, here it is. Traded in 84 from the Indians to the Cubs. With the Indians, he was 4-5 with a 5.15 ERA. With the Cubs, he went 16-1, and really didn't lose hardly anything until they got to the playoffs in '84. Stopped by the Padres, of course. I'll skip some of these. Here is a Rondell White. Okay, minor league diamond skills from Upper Deck. Rondell White did have a good long major league career. This must be his rookie card. And then more recently, we have Miguel Cabrera with the Detroit Tigers. This is 2019 Miguel Cabrera. Now, Cabrera is taking downturn on the tail end of his career. He is nearing the end, but he will always be remembered for his years with the Marlins and then also for the Triple Crown that he won with the Tigers. I think that was in 2012. Yeah, 2012 he won the Triple Crown, which nobody had done that since Frank Robinson, 67. So that is a rare achievement. Bobby Bonilla, we're back to the 1990 scores. Funniest thing about Bobby Bonilla is that he is still being paid by the New York Mets. He signed a honey of a contract. I mean, he hasn't played professionally in 18 years maybe, but he is still being paid $1 million per year by the New York Mets until he turns 75 years old. That is a honey of a contract. Damaso Garcia with the Toronto Blue Jays just recently passed away here in 2020. Underrated ball player in his era, but yeah, he just recently, like last month, passed away. And it's kind of sad to see, because as I go through some of these old cards, you see guys that aren't with us anymore. So, and these are guys that I used to grow up watching. Don Oss, alphabetically, one of the first players ever to play the game, other than Hank Aaron and Tommy Aaron. So Don Oss at the top of the list alphabetically. Well, let's see what else I've got here. Atlee Hammaker, this guy for the Giants. Good ball player in his era, made the 82 All-Star team, I believe, and gave up the only, at the time, I don't think it's been done since then, gave up the only Grand Slam in All-Star game history gave that up to Fred Lynn, and he was the one who coughed it up. I don't think anybody's hit a Grand Slam in the All-Star Game since then, but I could be wrong. Here's another Fleer update. Tony Phillips with the A's. He had a couple of different stints with the A's. Was with the Padres organization for a while, and they probably should have held on to him. Rick Cerone, Yankees catcher. What do we got here? All-Star Fred McGriff. This is a 1990 Topps All-Star card, and on the back it shows you the home run leaders, and hopefully Fred McGriff. Yep, that's him at the top of the list. 36 home runs in 1989, led the American League. Joe Carter was second, and it turns out the two of them were traded for each other shortly after this. Fred Griff and Joe Carter were traded for each other by the San Diego Padres and the Toronto Blue Jays. Here we have Carlos Baerga, another guy that the Padres traded and shouldn't have. He was Padres property through, I think, 89, and they dealt him away. Shouldn't have. Let's see, what do we got here? Speaking of trades that never should have been made, it's amazing how these cards segue into each other. Larry Anderson, this is him as a reliever for the Padres. He had a good long career as a relief pitcher. I'm sure he started some games too, but spent a number of years with the Astros. Then the Red Sox and the Padres got him. That Astros-Red Sox, in fact, this card doesn't directly refer to it, but it shows he went from the Astros to the Red Sox for 15 games in 1990, and the Red Sox coughed up a young first base prospect by the name of Jeff Bagwell. Hall of Famer Jeff Bagwell. 1-for-1, traded straight up, and that is easily one of the worst trades that the Red Sox made since the days of Babe Ruth. So they coughed up Jeff Bagwell for 15 games of Larry Anderson. Let's see here. Mitch Williams, talking about Joe Carter just a minute ago. Here is Mitch Williams coming up with the Cubs. He originally came up with the Rangers, went to the Cubs, and then spent some time with the Phillies, where he again coughed up that last home run in the 93 World Series to Joe Carter. Brewers first baseman Terry Francona. Terry Francona is, of course, a manager now, and he has managed the Red Sox to the World Series. Currently managing the Cleveland Indians, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, and here we have some more shiny cards. I've mentioned these in the past. This is the... these are different. These are Bowman Chrome. These are modern day cards, but you can see very shiny. Shiny, shiny. A little too much shine. You can tell why they called him Chrome. Denny Hechavarria, Miami Marlins shortstop, probably the best of the three cards I'm holding right now. He could possibly be something special over the course of his career. Here we go. Minnesota, Brian Dozier, second baseman, currently with the San Diego Padres. We have yet to see him play because of the COVID virus, but he is currently with the 2020 San Diego Padres and probably should be their regular second baseman. This is a Donruss in the style of the old Donruss Diamond Kings. Obviously a different artist, but yeah, this is a Panini / Donruss Brian Dozier, so that's a good one. I'll hang on to that. Let's see. A lot of shiny cards today. Here's a Panini / Donruss Zach Greinke, Arizona Diamondbacks. This is after he spent some time with the Dodgers. What else do we have here? Oh, here we go. I mentioned earlier the Topps traded set. Sometimes you can tell just by the back of it by looking. I want to compare the two. This is the Terry Kennedy card that I showed you earlier. This is a typical 1982 card. You can see the stripes down the side. I love this design. It's very 1982. It's almost more of a 70s design, but this came out in 82. On the back, you've got the stats, interesting factoids, and a very blue card. This is from the New York Yankees shortstop, third baseman Roy Smalley. This is part of the traded set. This is his traded, and you can see very clearly, same design on the front, very much the same, but the traded set, whereas the regular set was green, this set is red. So That one sticks out like a sore thumb. So again, I'm a big fan. Whoops, let's hold that. I'm a big fan of the 82 series for Topps. Not so much of the 89 Fleer. Again, I don't like the gray on these ugly cards, but Andre Dawson, a good player, so that's worth having. Yeah, that gray stripy Fleer set in 89, I don't know what they were thinking. Not a good look. Oh, this is sad. This is, talk about players passing away. This one was recent. This was Tyler Skaggs with the Los Angeles Angels. He passed away. I think it was drug overdose, if I'm not mistaken. He died one day in Texas when the team was supposed to face the Rangers. And if you remember, just last year, their first game back, and it was going to be his turn in the rotation, the Angels actually combined for a no-hitter and draped their jerseys. The whole team draped their jerseys on the pitcher's mound in memory of Tyler Skaggs. It was a very emotional night. Quite a scene, quite a story. You couldn't have written it that way. For the team to throw a no-hitter in his honor with his mother there. His whole family was in attendance, I think. And for Tyler, they threw a no-hitter that night. That was just an incredible scene. I remember watching that one, I believe, from a hotel room in Vegas while I was at the convention, if I'm not mistaken. These Gypsy Queen cards, this is a top set called Gypsy Queen. And I like it because it's trying to go for like an old-fashioned, like, almost 1920s look. But this is Mitch Moreland, obviously, modern-day player. But I see where they're going on this, and I like it. We've hit a couple of these also in the past, these Cooperstown cards. Got 3 of them here. We have Brooks Robinson, inducted in 1983. That's the best of the 3 here. Dave Bancroft, who, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell you the first thing about Dave Bancroft. I'll have to look this guy up later. I do not know him. I think he played for, shortstop with the New York Yankees. Yeah. Or no, New York Giants maybe, but at any rate, he's a Hall of Famer, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about him. And then Orlando Cepeda, of course, good ball player, outfielder for many years, or actually first base with Atlanta on this card, but I believe he played some outfield as well. Let's see, what else we got here? So, Didi Gregorius for some Yankee fans out there. Anybody likes the Yankee fans? There's Didi Gregorius. Here's a Todd Stottlemyre. I think we mentioned his father, Mel, last time. He was a pitching coach for the Yankees. Still got a lot to go through here. I'm going to just jam through some of these. Is this another Cooperstown card? Oh, wow. This is a weird one. Okay, this is a Cooperstown card, but there's no photograph involved. It just says, basically, Frank Robinson. It gives you a bunch of inducted in 1982. God, this is a weird card because it doesn't actually have a picture of the player anywhere. It's just supposed to look like a scouting report. That's a weird one. I've never seen one like that. Strange. What else do we have here? Here is a Score Select David Panini Select David Ortiz. Big Papi for any Red Sox fans. If you're into Red Sox, let me know. Hit me up. I can send that to you if you want it. There's some interesting stuff in this one. I don't know necessarily if any of these are really super valuable, but there's some interesting stuff. Speaking of players gone too soon, Darryl Kile, Colorado Rockies. I don't remember if it was a heart attack that got him or a plane crash. It was one or the other. But again, gone way too soon. There's a lot of players in this set that are no longer with us, unfortunately. What do we have here? Pittsburgh Power, or Pit Power. This is a Topps, I mentioned the nostalgia. This is a Topps Heritage card. Supposed to be in the style of maybe a 69 series. I'm not quite sure. Looks like it's supposed to be 1969, but obviously much more recent because you're looking at Starling Marte and Andrew McCutchen. Yeah, this is a 2016 card. Of course, neither Andrew McCutchen nor Starling Marte are still with Pittsburgh. That's just how it goes these days in Pittsburgh. JT Realmuto with the Marlins. He's now with the Phillies. Good catcher. We got Hunter Renfroe. Okay. What's interesting about Donruss, they are still printing cards, but they don't have an official license from Major League Baseball. So anytime they print a card, this is a 2019 Donruss card of Hunter Renfroe, former Padres outfielder, spent a couple of years with us out in left field. He had a number of home runs last year for us, probably one of our better offensive threats last year. Traded him to Tampa Bay since, so Tampa Bay, he's all yours now. But notice when it doesn't say Padres on here anywhere. At the bottom it says SD. Doesn't say Padres on here anywhere. And they've even gone to the extent where in his photo there is no logo on the helmet. There is no name on the jersey. They have airbrushed any detail out of this card just to avoid licensing issues. So, yeah, that's what you get when you don't have a license from Major League Baseball to produce baseball cards. So, anyways, here we have Tony Perez in his second tour of duty with the Reds. He spent some time with the Expos and the Red Sox and the Phillies. This was at the very end of his career. One thing I like about, this is an 85 tops. One thing I like about these old veteran ball players, when they get to the end of the career, typically with the Topps card, it'll have some sort of fun fact or all their minor league stats or something like that. When you get to be 20 years into the league, like Tony Perez, he came up in 1964, and these are his stats from 1984. So you've got 21 years of stats, and it gets to be really small print because they've got to fill it all in on the back there. These are the ones that I really like because I know all the money is in rookie cards, but when you get a guy at the very end of his career, encapsulating everything that he's done in the league, I think there should be some more value to these because this, if not his very last card, it's got to be close to it. It's when you've got all of his stats all on one card, that tiny little print. Those cards I really enjoy. Those are valuable to me. Let's see what else we have here. Mark Langston. I think it was this day. On this day, 1992 maybe, he was traded from the Mariners to the Expos for Randy Johnson and a couple of other players. Of course, Langston played with the Angels for a while, born in San Diego, and did end up pitching for the Padres, most notably in 1998 in the World Series, where he threw that pitch that Rich Garcia called a ball, even though it was an obvious strike, and the Yankees got a grand slam on the very next pitch, 1998 World Series. That one pitch and that one blown call ruined the whole series for the Padres. So here's Gerardo Parra. Again, the Panini Select, I keep calling it the Score because they came out with a series called Select, but this is a Panini Select. Panini and Donruss team up for these shiny cards. And in this case, Gerardo Parra, again, Donruss, Panini, does not have a license with Major League Baseball to produce cards. So instead of Arizona Diamondbacks, this one literally says Arizona Baseball Club. I don't know if you can see right up by his name. It says literally Arizona Baseball Club. Super generic. And again, any brands, any logos, airbrushed off the helmet, airbrushed off the jersey. It's a super cheap look, I think, but that's what you do when you don't have a license. So you got to have your license from Major League Baseball if you're going to produce baseball cards. Rays outfielders Ben Zobrist had some good years with the Cubs, obviously. Kansas City Royals Alex Gordon in the Gypsy Queen series. Again, this Gypsy Queen, super attractive set, I think, for a modern day card. And then a couple last Paninis here. Michael Kadire with the Colorado Rockies, Aramis Ramirez with the Milwaukee Brewers. Aramis Ramirez, a very underrated player, played for the Brewers, the Cubs, the Pirates. Had a very good career and made a couple of all-star teams, I think, but didn't get the acclaim that he deserved. So, as usual, like I said, I'm not here to make money. I'm just here to, give you some stories, keep you entertained, tell you a little bit about what I'm looking for in a card, and hopefully you found something you like too. If you did see anything that you have to have, again, I'm really just interested in keeping the San Diego Padres cards. But if you had something that you really need to have, if there was something amazing that you want, or if you're just a fan of any one particular team, like I mentioned the Red Sox earlier, there was a David Ortiz card in there. I'll send you the whole bunch of Red Sox cards. I'll go through this and send you the whole lot of them if you want. We'll work something out. Just hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on YouTube. Tell me what team you like. I'd be happy to send you a set. And you know what? Keep the positive comments coming. Um, I love hearing from people who are actually watching these things. So tell me what you're looking for in the cards. If there were any players or cards in this set that brought to mind a special memory for you, let me know it. Let me know in the comments. So thank you very much for your time. And next time we will get to this Topps Heritage Series. We've got at least one more episode coming, so we'll get to that in the next week or so. You have a good day. Bye-bye.